Hello! Welcome to the first part of my Scratch tutorial in which I will teach you how to code using Scratch. This is intended for very beginners and people who are interested in using Scratch for their everyday life, maybe for their job, maybe even teachers. So let's get started. First, we will have to go to the website on which Scratch resides. It's a web application. You don't need to download anything. You don't need to have an account. Thus, I will not show how to create an account in this first session. In the next session, I will show you how to create an account. Let's first go to the website. We go to scratch.mit.edu. We hit enter, and we are greeted with this website. On the front page, you already get lots of information. For example, to join Scratch, to create an account, to sign in to Scratch, if you already have an account. They also are completely free. Thus, they require donations to keep it running. You can donate if you want. You can also just close this banner. On the front page, we also have the logo, which will always get us back to the front page. We have Create, where we can create our code. We have Explore, where we can see other people's creations. We have Ideas, where we get ideas to get started in Scratch, find some tutorials, and an About section, where we get more information about the Scratch project. You also have some featured projects, featured studios. What all these are, I will explain later on. So let's get started. First, to create our first code in Scratch, we would have to go to the Create section. Now we are in the editor. We are greeted with a tutorial at the bottom. We can follow through. It's a video tutorial. And we can close it. Now, we see a lot of things here on this screen. Thus, let's keep it simple. We will start on the right side, where we have our viewport. Here, we can see our first character. Characters are called sprites, like in video games, in 2D games. And this is Scratch, the cat, the logo, the mascot of the Scratch project. We can drag and drop Scratch, and it will reposition Scratch on this viewport. We cannot make him leave this viewport. Below that, we get some information about the selected sprite. First, we have the sprite's name. Let's rename it. Then, below that, we have show. We have the eye selected, not the crossed out eye. We can see it with the blue color. If we click on the stricken out eye, it will hide. We click on the eye, it will show again. Right next to that, we have size. This is in percentages. 100% is normal size. Let's put it half the size. That would be 50%. So now it's half as big as before. Let's turn him back to normal size. And let's make him double the size. That would be double 100, so 200%. Let's put him back. We then have a direction, which is in degrees. We get a wheel that helps us to turn him around, or we can just enter degrees from 0 to 360. We also have some more things here, which I will show you in a later tutorial. On top of the direction and size, we have X and Y. This is the position of the sprite. We can see that now I moved Scratch to the X position, that would be left and right, to minus 135. And up and down, or Y, 66. Basically, 0 is the middle for everything. Now, you already will get your first task now. So please pause this video after I give you the instructions of this exercise. find out what happens when you put in positive numbers in the x coordinate section and in the y coordinate section, and then try negative numbers. Negative numbers are numbers with a minus in front. So please pause the video now. Great. Now let's see what happens when I put in a positive number in the x section. It will move to the right. Let's put in a bigger number to make it much more clear. It moves to the right. Let's put him back to 0. If I put in negative 100, it will move to the left. The same goes for the y. And if we make it negative, it goes down. Now, 0, 0 is always the exact center point. So with this already, we can make a few things, but we only have one character. Right now, we have Scratch selected. You see it in the blue border. We can delete Scratch by clicking on this bucket. This will delete him. If you did delete something by mistake, you can always restore by going to Edit, Restore, or Control Z on your keyboard, or Command Z for Mac. Now, we would like to add another character. Maybe we are not too fond of Scratch. No problem. Let's delete Scratch, and then we go down here. Without clicking on it, we can already see some things we can do. We can choose a sprite from the provided list. We can paint our own. We can get a random character, or we can upload our own sprite. Right now, we will only choose a sprite. So we click on it, and then we get a huge selection of possible sprites. Now let's see. Maybe they have a penguin. They do. I'm gonna choose the penguin. You can choose whatever sprite you want. Now, we maybe want a second sprite. Let's see. A polar bear. Well, usually polar bears and penguins don't meet each other, but I think both are very cool animals. So, now you see that I have selected the polar bear. I can click on penguin to select the penguin. Here we have backdrops. This is basically the background. Now, snow is white. I give you that. But maybe we want something prettier. So we can do the same by going to the stage section and choose with the same tools a background. Let's see, Arctic. That is fitting. Now, I would like you to do it yourself. Put in a few sprites, like 2, 3, or 4 sprites, and the backdrop. So pause the video now. And welcome back. If you haven't paused the video, you can still pause it. But let's go on. So now I have the penguin selected. We can see that the penguin is definitively selected because we can see it here. This is the coding window where we will put our code. Now, what is code? Well, that's a more complicated question that I will explain in another video, but right now, what is important is that code is just directions in a specific order that the computer will do. For example, if you have a recipe, you have ingredients that gives you what you need, which would be this. These are all our ingredients. I will go into depth soon. And you have the recipe itself where everything is explained in order. That you put the sugar in the bowl, the egg, the flour, and then how to mix it. Now, I would like to make my penguin move So we can use all these coding blocks here. Now we have them categorized by color and names. So the first one is motion, the blue, which is basically everything that has to do with movement. Like the position itself, we can get here as a variable. I will go into depth into variables in a later tutorial. But we have move. That's great. That sounds great. Let's use move. Cool. If I click on it, it moves 10 steps. Great. Now we have a number there. So if you click on a block, it will do what the block is supposed to do. Now you can stop the video and find out what happens if you put in a different number and what happens when you put in a negative number. So stop the video now and try it out. Great. Now let's see. If I put in 100, it moves 100 steps to the right. If I put in a negative number, it moves 100 steps to the left. Now, move is also affected by the direction. I will go into depth later in a different tutorial actually, but it already helps us to move it left and right. Then we have looks. This is everything that has to do with visuals, from showing a message, from thinking a message, and to change the costume, so we can make animations, changing size, everything visual. We have sound, which is everything that has to do with sounds. So right now we only have a plopping sound, but that's already something. You will also be able to record your own sounds. I will go into depth for that in a later tutorial. We have events. That's everything that has to do with events, everything that gets started by an event or creates an event to start something else. For example, when the flag is clicked. This is very practical. If you have a code that is supposed to run one after another, it doesn't make sense to have to click all the blocks by yourself. We can connect them. So a good start is always to use an event block. So now when I click the flag, it does the code that is connected to it. Then we have control, which is a little bit more complicated. These are statements. We will use them. Then we have sensing. These blocks can be used to sense things like colors, other sprites, or even the mouse. Then we have operators, which is mathematical and logic. We have variables. Variables I will also explain in another tutorial in more detail, but basically variables are a way to store information or data. We can also make lists. We can create our own blocks. So these are like functions that we can create, which is also very advanced. So right now, you get one exercise for the next tutorial. I would like you to create your own animation by placing a few sprites and using the event block and the motion blocks to make them move around, left, right, up, down. Please experiment with all the blue blocks, right? Just keep in mind that the bottom ones are just information. They are not connectable blocks, they are numbers. So right now, maybe don't use these 3 rounded blocks, but all the other ones, use them. These are the basics of Scratch. You can connect blocks, you can put in sprites and backdrops, and I hope to see you back for the next tutorial.